Hey, good evening and welcome back. Welcome back to the FB Live, where today we are going to talk about how to convert your fear into fuel. Yep. Alright. So thank you so much for joining in. Tell me a hi, tell me who's there with me so that I know who's joined in with us, and we can have some amazing conversation in the next 30 minutes where we are going to talk about fear and the role of fear in success, and how fear is actually beneficial and how you can use it to your advantage. Yeah. So tell me a hi, let me know who's there. I'm Smitaa Nair. For the ones who have joined in or who are there with us for the first time, I'll just give you a small introduction about me. So I work with women who are passionate and women who are leaders, and I work with them to empower them to stand in their power and to lead a meaningful and successful life through the 360-degree success coaching that I do. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining in. I have worked with 10,000 people till now, and continue to work with many more women who want to create an identity in life, who want to make a mark in this world, and who want to create a difference in this world. Yeah, I've worked with people from different fields, from different industries. I've worked with VPs and CEOs. I've dealt and interacted with certain celebs and entrepreneurs and artists and people from the media background, and also mompreneurs who are mothers and who are wanting to start something on their own, and who are on that beginning path of it. So I worked with women from different sectors of the society, and yep, so that's what. And we are going to talk about fear today. As when I work with my clients, this is the most common thing that we encounter, and we all have that, and it's very natural. Even I have a lot of fear, and so I have dealt with it for a long time in my life, and it is very recently or in the past few years that I've discovered how to actually use it to my advantage, and how can I actually use it to grow in my life. And that's exactly what I do with my clients now. So that's what we're going to talk. So welcome back again, and tell me a hi, let me know who has joined in so that we know who's there and we can have some wonderful conversations. This is going to be a conversation and not a monologue. Let's have a dialogue. So ask me any question related to fear and success, and I'll be more than happy to give you my best. Yep, thank you so much. So fear, we all have this aspect that is called as fear in our life, and people have different forms of fear. There's fear of failure, there's fear of judgment, and there's also fear of success. So for the ones who are going to hear the fear of success for the first time, let me tell you, this is also one of the common fears that most of the people have, and a lot of people have fear of success as more common rather than the fear of failure these days. So we are scared of being seen, we are scared of being known, we are scared of being out there, because then yes, that was also accompanied by the fear of judgment, of how people are going to see us, how we are going to be known, how we are going to be perceived as, and and then a lot of our self-doubt creeps in. So these are the different kind of fears that we have. So let me quickly get into first the basic of where did this fear even develop and what is it, because when I figured this out, this changed my whole life, and this really gave me a lot of courage to move forward, and this gave me a lot of strength to act in spite of fear. When fear comes, what happens is we get frozen, right? Like, fear is nothing but in our own mental perception of how a particular future is going to look like. So like a lot of people say that I have a fear of public speaking. So what happens? Like, what is a fear of public speaking? They just think that what if I go to the stage and freeze? That's a fear of public speaking. So it's a manifestation of our future in our own mind. We are just thinking, what if they laugh at me? What if I'm hurt? What if my business fails? What if I freeze on the stage? What if I can't talk to people? What if I'm seen as a fool? These are all what ifs. Like, we have not actually done it, but we have already perceived and we have already assumed of how that future is going to look like, and that's what causes the fear. Now, where does this what if come from, or where does this fear come from, which doesn't allow people to act? Like, when fear comes, we freeze. Like, everything goes on pause. Like right now, let's say, imagine if you're walking into a jungle, into a forest, and you're just walking, you're lost and you're wandering there, and you're just walking through to find your way out, already scared, already worried, like, if you're going to be safe, if you're going to be fine, and suddenly if a wild animal pops up, what's going to happen? Like, we're going to, you're going to be freezing, you're going to just completely be frozen, and everything pauses, like nothing moves, right? That's the same way fear acts in our life. Like, when you have fear about anything, internally, subconsciously, you're frozen, and you're not moving forward. So let us find out the first element of fear, and where is this fear coming from, the origin of fear. So let's find out where is this origin of fear, because this had really changed a lot for me. Alright, so what actually, how did this fear even come into play? So our mind, that's our subconscious mind, this is our subconscious mind, has two major instincts, fight and flight. Yeah. So it operates from a space of a survival instinct. Survival is the first thing, that is what our subconscious deals with. Like, that's the first thing, yeah. Survival instinct is a very natural instinct that our subconscious has, and it is a very basic instinct that our subconscious has. So during the old age times, as in I'm talking about the Stone Age times, and when the dinosaurs were present, and the historic periods when the evolution was happening. So what had actually happened, what would happen is, there was a, men and human beings had started recognizing as certain areas, as certain zones, as their territories, as their areas, which is areas of safety, which is areas of comfort, where they are going to be safe. Yeah, so those were huge areas that they had demarked for themselves, where they were, where the inhabitants were there, where they were living in colonies together. So human beings would live there, and it was considered, and it was known or seen by humans that if you're crossing that particular area, which is your safe area, then that person is either attacked or killed by the wild, or that person never comes back. Like, he might be going somewhere else, but then he never comes back. Yeah, so the ones who loses him, or the ones who's not seen him back, never knows that what happened, where is this person gone. So he never comes back. So in that process, people started developing this survival instinct. Survival instinct has always been there. People started developing fear as a source of survival instinct, which means they started developing this fear that if you are stepping out of this particular demarked territory, you are not going to be safe. And they started developing that fear of stepping into that unknown zone, which was called as unsafe for them. Yeah. So this fear actually was their tool. It was their weapon, which was giving them the information about, are they going to be safe? Are they not going to be safe? Is there a threat? Is there not a threat? Are they going to be harmed? Is there not going to be any harm? Yeah. Anytime they stepped into an unknown territory, this fear would crop in. This fear would come, which was giving them information that you are stepping into an unknown zone. This is not a safe zone. There is a chance of being threatened, or there is a chance of being harmed. Yeah. And that way the fear started developing. Now evolution happened, we progressed, things changed. However, certain things have stayed with us over evolution. It has always remained. Like, the situations have changed, the circumstances have changed, everything has changed, but certain things have stayed with us, just like our tailbone, Earlier we had tail, right? Now the tail is gone with evolution, but the tailbone stayed with us. Same way with fear, the territories, the unknown territories, the safe zones, all that has changed. Yeah, now we are no more living a life where survival is our basic need. Yeah, we have gone way beyond that. And if you're on FB, watching me on FB live, then definitely you're not having a life where you're having a survival as your basic need. Yeah. So we have just crossed that period. We have just crossed that zone of living where survival is your basic need. Yet, what your mind is carried over the period of evolution is that fear, is that survival instinct, is that tool and the weapon which gives you the information. Now, what happens is, when you're going to do anything new, when you're going to do anything big, when you're going to do anything that is unknown to you, this particular fear comes up. This particular fear develops. It shows up. It shows up because it's your subconscious's natural mechanism to protect you. It just wants to protect you. And it is telling you, don't go forward. It can be not safe. You can be harmed. You can be threatened. Because that's the basic that it is developed. Yeah? And what happens? And we freeze. And we stop. And we say that, oh my God, my subconscious is telling me, or my mind is telling me there's fear. So I stop. Yeah. So what happens is, then we stop because the subconscious gives you the information. But rather what has now happened is the times have changed. You're no more living in that era, you're no more living in that generation, you're no more living in that time of historic period where survival is still your need. And you can really go beyond. It's just a natural mechanism, just like the tailbone is there, right? Like I have a lot of clients who tell me that, they have a pain in their tailbone area and that area needs to be operated. So that part still shows its presence, right? You're not scared of that part. So same way, the fear is just showing its presence there. You don't have to stop yourself because it's showing. It's just its natural mechanism. So next time a fear shows up, understand that it is just a natural mechanism. It's an automatic response system which your body is generating, which your mind is generating, which is trained, which is programmed, which is, over ages, over generations, programmed to protect you from an unknown zone. And that is where, when you go to do anything big, when you're going to do anything new, when you're going to do anything that is not been done before, the fear comes in. Yeah. Now, when I learned this was an aha moment for me. I was like, okay, like it has got nothing to do with me. It's a very natural mechanism. Yeah, when I figured this out, then I went forward to learn and find out what do people who are successful, people who have succeeded, who have created a mark in history, how do they deal with it? If this is a natural mechanism, then everybody should have it. And yes, I was right. When I learned it and I discovered and I went forward, I studied, I researched, I started talking to people who have really made a mark, who have really created a name in our industry. I interacted with them, I spoke to them, I asked them how they deal with fear, and I got some common responses from them. Yeah. So I figured out that everybody has fear. Now the only difference between a person who's been successful, who's really created a mark, who's really gone out there in the world and contributed, who's really known for his work, and the person who has not made it, or who is stuck, or who is still thinking, or who is still wondering about what they are supposed to do, or should they do it, should they not do it, and stuck in the zone of fear, the only difference here is the people who have done it or who have made a mark have been successful, because they learned to act in spite of fear. So which means that these people always had fear. They always had fear, just like you had fear, just like I have fear. Each and every person has fear. And know this today, and this will really, really be beneficial if you acknowledge it today, that the fear is going to stay with you forever. It's never going out. It's never going anywhere. It's always going to come. It's always going to come to you. And each time you're going to keep growing in life day by day. Each time you're going to work, which I believe you're going to do, and which I believe that's how each person should be doing, and that's how I live my life, where you keep redesigning your own self, where you keep reconstructing your own self, you keep working on your own self, and keep enhancing as a person day by day. Each time you're going to become a better person, you're going to become a different person, and each time when you're going to reach for the different areas and a different approaches or a different leaps of your life, you will face this thing called as fear. It's natural, it's normal, and it's there with everybody. Each person, the person you name it, like let it be Mark Zuckerberg or let it be, let it be anybody, let it be any person on this planet Earth, whomsoever is alive, is still facing and dealing fear in life. And this was the biggest breakthrough for me, because I kept thinking, or I kept waiting for the day I'll not have fear. So I realized that this is not going anywhere. It's going to be there with me forever in my life. Now I have to find out how to overcome it, how to come out of it. Yeah. So step number 1 is to know that it's going to be there with you, because most of the time what I have realized when I work with my clients is that they're waiting for the fear to go. Let me tell you, the fear doesn't go. It's going to be there with you. I'm repeating this line. I know I'm repeating it. I'm repeating it because you have to get it. At times, for certain things to come to us, we need to hear it repetitively. And that's why I'm repeating this line, that fear is going to stay with you forever. Now let's find ways to make friends with it. Fear is an emotion. It's an emotion just like love, just like compassion, just like understanding, just like respect. It's an emotion, and it's going to stay with us. Now the problem with fear is we have given it a lot of power. We have given our power away to fear. We have said that, oh, the fear is going to decide how we're going to act. The fear is going to decide how we're going to take an action. The fear is going to decide if we're going to succeed or not. The fear is going to decide if we're going to do a particular thing or not. Today is the day for you to take the power back. Let's now say, I am going to decide how will I act in spite of the fear. How will I do this in spite of the fear? How will I make that business deal in spite of the fear? How will I deliver more than what I can deliver in spite of the fear? How can I have a loving relationship in spite of the fear? How can I have $1 million in my account in spite of the fear? Yeah, it's up to you today to change that and take that power back and say that, okay, this is going to stay, and how am I going to go beyond it in spite of it? Yeah. Now, one thing that I do is I always ask myself, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? I believe, and this is again a lot about your belief. I believe if I'm alive, then everything else can be done. If I'm alive, then I can do rest of things. Okay, so what is the worst case scenario? Okay, I'll be hurt. All right. What's the worst case scenario? Okay, I'll have financial losses. Okay, what is the worst case scenario? Okay, probably the deal will not work out. Okay, what's the worst case scenario? People might talk crap about me. What's the worst case scenario? This will not work out the way I wanted it to work out. It's okay. The minute I ask myself, what is the worst case scenario, and I face it on the face. Because what happens with fear is most of the time we are running away from it. The minute fear comes, we are freezing. We're not taking any action further. We are not moving forward. Rather, when you say, oh, okay, hi, buddy, you have come, that's a fear. Yeah, so when I say, hi, buddy, that's I'm telling to the fear. So when you tell the fear, hi, buddy, you've come, all right, so let's face this. So what's the worst case scenario? If you're going to be there and I'm going to deal with this, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? So what is actually happening is you're taking the fear right here on your hands, on your palm, looking at it, going down to the details, to the micro detailing it. And when you're going down to the details, it starts breaking down into pieces and it starts slowly, gradually disappearing. Like a fear that's this big starts becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller till the time it's no more there. And that's what happens when you look at it right on the face. Because can anybody guarantee you no failure? No. Nobody can guarantee you no failure. Have people succeeded without no failure? I don't know of any person who has succeeded with no failure. I learn a lot, I read a lot, I interact a lot, I have worked with a lot of successful people, but nothing that I know of till date, nothing that I've learned from my mentors till date, nothing that I've read till date has told me a guarantee that a person who has succeeded without failure. It does not happen. So failure is going to come. But the minute you face it, the minute you look at what is the worst case scenario, the minute you ask yourself, the minute you're going to the micro detailings of it, you get the power back with you to act in spite of the fear. Alright, this is what is the worst case scenario. Let me do it. I will at least be alive, right? At the last day of your life, if you're going to be asked, and this is a common answer, a lot of people have died with regrets of not doing things. And I am very clear that I will never die with regrets of not having done things that I wanted to do. So might as well do it. Yeah. So the first thing is knowing that the fear is going to stay there with you. Second thing is asking, how can I act in spite of fear? And third is, this is what I do, is looking at what is the worst case scenario. What is it that will happen in the worst case? And when I know that, that gives me the courage to act and go forward with a fear. This is the first element of fear. Yeah. Let's go to the second element of fear. The projected fears. This is again another common thing that people have experienced with fear. That's a projected fear. Now, what is a projected fear? A projected fear is a fear that is projected to you by your loved ones. Yeah, when your loved ones are telling you, don't do this, you will fail, you cannot do it. Recently, I heard a call where Vidya Balan was on the call, and she was talking about her journey to success, where she was talking about how she succeeded and her journey, So she was telling that, she doesn't come from a background of, from the film industry or from the media background. So her mother kept telling her that this is not our path, or, nobody in our family has ever been into media or into film industry or into Bollywood. So don't try or don't do that, just find a good job. Look at this friend of yours who has a good job. Look at that friend of yours who has a good job. So find a good job and settle. And I have heard this from my mother as well, who tells me that why don't you become a tuition teacher, and why don't you find a particular job and settle down. And I've heard this from a lot of people. It's not just Vidya Balan's mom or just my mom saying it. It's very common for parents. It's very common for friends. It's very common for relatives to say that, oh God, you're doing something like that. Do you think it's going to ever work out? Do you think you can ever make it happen? No, why don't you find a job and settle down? Oh, look at that friend of yours, they're already settled. Oh, look at this person, that person's son's brother, son's father, or whatever, relations and people that you have not heard of or you don't want to even hear about. They will give you examples and stories about how that person is settled. They have had their own house, they have had their own car, they are married, they have 2 kids, they are, you'll hear stories about the so-called myth of security. Yeah, I always say security is a myth. We'll come to that topic later sometime. Today it's going to be a long topic. So anyways, so they are going to keep telling you, and you're going to have someone, every person has someone like that in their life who keeps telling them that, do you think you can really make it? It's too big, don't try, it's not happening, this is not possible, or you can't make that. Nobody has done this before. Who do you think you are? Everybody cannot be Sachin Tendulkar. Oh, that was just luck that person succeeded. And these kind of stories, right? Have you heard that? If you have heard that, tell me, give me a yes, so that I know. And I know this is very common. I've heard this from all my clients. I've heard this from all the people who have made a mark. I've heard this in my own family. So it's common. Yeah, if you resonate with this, give me a yes, so that I know that, yeah, we are on the same page. I'm talking to people who resonate to what I am talking about. Yeah, give me a yes and let me know that, yeah, we have heard these kind of stories in our lives. So, so what happens? What is it? And, a lot of time what happens is when we hear stories like that, I have known and I have seen a lot of my clients stay back, like they step back, they say that, okay, I am waiting for that day when my family will support me. I'm waiting for that day when they will understand. I'm waiting for that day when somebody will support me. So what happens is probably that day will never come. Or I don't know if it comes, but by then maybe that day is too late. Let's look at this entire projected fear in a different perspective. Now, and when I looked at it, it changed my approach, it enhanced my relationships, it strengthened my bond with my family, and it also gave me the courage to act in spite of the fear. So when your parents, when your friends, when your family is saying something like this, what makes them say this? let's take an example of a child. Let's take an example of a little baby. Yeah, when a child is walking, and if you're a mother, you will know this. When a child just learns to walk, the mother is watching, and the mother is seeing the child walk. And the minute the child walks, the mother has that, it almost feels like your heart popped out. Yeah, like you're scared, you want to protect your child, you want to really hold your child, and if possible, I'm sure a lot of mothers would want to do that. Just tell that it's okay, I'll walk for you. I've seen mothers being like going paranoid and crazy about their child falling down. So this again is a very natural instinct which somewhere along with love we have developed, of protection, of possessiveness, of taking care, of ensuring that our loved ones are in a safe zone. A lot of parents want to do the homeworks for their children, a lot of parents want to do the projects for their children, to ensure that their child is protected, to ensure that the child is safe, to ensure that the child is not named anything, their child is not being labeled in the school. They end up covering up for their children. So that sense of protection, that sense of care, that sense of love, that sense of wanting to keep you in a safe zone always stays. In fact, that's there even with animals. Like when a small puppy is born, if you'll see the mother will go and keep, when the puppy moves a little far away, mother notices, the mother goes and picks that puppy and brings that puppy back to where their small territory is. So that's a sense of protection which all our loved ones naturally have. So when they are telling you, don't do this, don't do that, it's not that they don't want to support you. It's not that they don't want to do it. It's not that they don't want to see you being successful. It's not that they don't trust you. It's just that they're scared. They're worried. They want to protect you. They want to ensure that you're not falling. They want to ensure that you're not hurt. They want to ensure that you're not bruised. And in that journey, in that effort to protect you, a lot of times they end up saying things which becomes your dream stealer. I call them a dream stealing. They end up taking your dreams away. They end up putting things in front of you which makes you read things, which makes you stop. Yeah? And then you don't act. And then you stop. So when I started looking at it as just their love, as just their protection, as just their sense of being cared and concerned for me, I then stopped waiting for their approval. I then stopped waiting for them to say oh yes. I then stopped waiting for them to agree with me and to say that yes, we support you. I stopped waiting for their support. I stopped waiting for people to understand. I stopped waiting for people to come along my way. I just started walking on the journey, irrespective of if there's anybody there with me or not. And I have done this with all my clients in the past, and every time we did that, we walked on that journey, irrespective of anybody comes with us or not. We noticed, I have seen this in my life, I have seen this with all my clients' life, that when we started walking forward, a little way into the journey, as you started making it there, as people start seeing your determination, your courage, your confidence, your willingness to go beyond the protocol, to go beyond the norms of what has been laid for you, people do come along. And irrespective of they come along or not, your dream is your dream. Just start walking, and they are not doing it because they don't trust you. They are just doing it because they care for you. Next time somebody says that, put your hand around their shoulder and say that, thank you so much for loving me so much. Thank you so much for caring for me. Thank you so much for being there for me. I love you. And I know how concerned you are for me. But trust me, look into their eyes, hold their hands and tell them, trust me, I will make it. Let me do it. Let me try. Without doing it, how will I know if I'm not going to do it? And if I fall, I can come back to you. You're there for me, right? And they'll say, yeah, I'm there for you. And see, the whole scenario changes. You can just change the entire approach. You don't have to get upset, you don't have to be sad, you don't have to be hurt, or you don't have to wait for someone to support or come and walk along with you in the journey. If you have a dream,